Welcome to another episode of the Black Pantheon, and this week I'm sitting down with Livv. Livv is an amazing vocalist, songwriter, engineer, producer, and all-around creative. You might have seen a couple of Livv's videos going around on Instagram and TikTok. It's something about her vocals that brings so much simplicity and draw people to her and her talent. So in this episode, we're hitting on her musical upbringing from her family to her personal life. We bring up the nuances and the concept of perfection, and also being a woman in the music industry. I hope you get something from this episode like I have. Enjoy. Welcome to the Black Pantheon, where I sit down with creators, innovators, and entrepreneurs and listen to their stories through a cultural lens. I'm Abram Schaefer, a content creator and musician, creating captivating pieces of content that push intentionality and going beyond the norm. This video series is meant to inspire, push new ideas, and dive into the minds of great people. So I'm with Livv, and Livv is someone I admire, someone I look up to, just in terms of creativity, discipline. But for people who don't know you, Livv, just give us a brief summary of who you are, what you do, stuff like that.
So I'm a vocalist, but I think how I would kind of label myself would be a writer and producer. I'm just a creative being as a whole. So yeah, that's me.
Okay. How'd you get up to this point? Like, I know that's like a lot. That's a loaded question, but
Absolutely loaded.
yeah, like I guess we start here. What made you want to get into singing or being a vocalist to begin with?
So my family wasn't necessarily musical, but music has always kind of like surrounded us. My grandmother was in a choir. My mother and all her siblings sang in that choir. And they'll say that they can't sing, but they have beautiful voices. My uncle is a musician. My grandfather was a musician. Well, I said that it didn't really surround our family, but it literally. But yeah, so it was kind of around us. I have siblings, so my sister started singing first, and I'm the baby. So I was like, that's interesting. Let's
Yeah.
let's try that out. So my parents got me this like Barbie karaoke machine. And I just remember feeling super attached to it. And it kind of just grew from there. So I sang a little bit, but my focus was on instrumentation. Like I wanted to pick up the guitar, I wanted to play the piano, and I joined a bunch of choirs and I started taking theory classes
Mm.
at BCC here in the Bronx. I think I had to be maybe like 11 years old in a class full of adults. So that started, and then I went to a performing arts school. I started my professional music career when I was about like 13. And it's been consistent after that. I have done background, I've been signed to a production label. I'm currently working on my own project right now. Uh, yeah, it's been a long time coming.
Dang, that's dope. And like you said, a lot of stuff that I think a couple things I want to get to, but I want to start at the started your professional career at 13.
Yeah.
That's like one is like young, and I know when I was 13, I was thinking about comic books and I wasn't thinking about music. So
Yeah.
what was your mindset in doing that? Like, were you dipping your feet in? It was like, oh, this might be something dope, or you like knew like this is what I wanted to do, and I'm just going to like
I
do it.
I absolutely knew at a very early age that music is what I wanted to do as a career. And I've always been like one track minded.
Yeah.
So I was 1000% committed. Like I was doing like 8-hour rehearsals multiple times a week, leaving school early to go perform, risking a bunch. And in my eyes, it was what was necessary. And it taught me at a really early age my work ethic and commitments. Like these things don't happen overnight, number one. And it's very rare that the success comes from the talent, it comes from the hours that you put in. And so like we had family vacations, we had uh, hangouts with friends and all these things in family. And I didn't attend any of them. There were so many graduations that I missed, um, family events, birthdays, all these things, because I'm like, bro, I got rehearsal, bro, I got a show. Like, I don't care if it's for one person or 100 or 1,000 people. I'm going there and I'm doing what I have to do.
Mm.
And so there was a level of like, to the people around me, like I was erratic. I was like, no, this is so important. Like I would die for it type of thing. Um, so yeah, and that's still my energy now. You know me.
Yeah.
I don't care what's going on. I don't care how long I gotta stay up. I don't care what I gotta sacrifice. I don't care if I don't eat. Like it doesn't matter to me. I'm gonna go for it.
And I think like that's a cool thing that I admire about you is like obsession. Like,
Hmm.
I think, people say that obsession is a negative thing. But I think when you so engulfed in what you want to do and like you're so like, I'm gonna do this, like I'm gonna give it my all, and also understanding on the realistic side that it takes work in order to get to where you want to be at. So
Absolutely.
yeah, you have to sacrifice. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand. Like you can have the talent all you want, but I think on the other end is sacrifice in order to get the rewards that you want. So
Hmm.
since you were missing graduation, you were missing like I can't hang out with friends. How was that entire middle school, high school experience? Like, did you have friends? Like how did you balance all that?
So my friends were the people that I was working with at the time.
Okay.
Like, I mean, I had people in school that I would connect with. Um, but once I would leave the building, that was kind of it.
Yeah.
They didn't really, come outside of those four walls with me. And I've always been the youngest one, so all of my friends were way older than me. Um, yeah, it was a little hard for me, but I've always been a fan of solitude.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't completely affect me. It didn't affect me at all, honestly. Well, I'd like to believe that it didn't affect me. But yeah, it was hard to maneuver through it. And my family also instilled in me like your family comes first, and like
Yeah.
who you're here with is what's important. And always taught me to be very careful with the outside world and letting
Mm-hmm.
people in,
Yeah.
because although I'm a fan of solitude, I'm still a creative being. And with being a creative, we wear our hearts on our sleeve.
Yeah.
So you I think I'm very strong, but there was a level of fragility that comes with it,
Mm-hmm.
and vulnerability that I think, being so focused on work kind of protected me from a lot,
Yeah.
even though I did experience a lot at an early age. But yeah, it's challenging. I think anyone with ambition has a hard time kind of connecting with the outside world.
Your family, were they supportive up to like a certain point, or are they still
Mhm.
supportive? Like, because knowing you, like, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do it. Like, I don't care what you say, what your opinion is. So, yeah, how was that?
So it was it was interesting. My family has been very supportive of me pursuing music. Absolutely. But of course, when it's coming down to, these family events that are extremely important
Mm-hmm.
to a normal person, and I'm choosing work or a rehearsal over that, it does not make sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. So there was a level of pushback, but at the end of the day, today they'll be like, like, I'm happy that you did what you did, and I'm happy that you took the path that you took. But I was reading something recently in The Alchemist. I think it's everybody's favorite book. And the alchemist spoke of a possession that he had. Excuse me. And he told these chiefsmen about what he had, and they laughed at him. And the main character was like, "Why would you tell them that? Like, they could have robbed us, they could have whatever." And he said one of the most important lessons is that when you possess great treasures, seldom are you believed. So I can tell you that I'm passionate. I can tell you that I believe in my gift. I can tell you all these things, and you may think I'm absolutely insane. But until I show you the fruit from my labor, it's not going to make sense to you. So at the moment, it was hard. And now they're like, oh, okay. I get it.
I
I
think,
support you.
like that's that's a I think it's a double-edged sword because family's
Mm-hmm.
there to support you, but
Mm-hmm.
I think when it's not something that an occupation or a dream that's tangible, like a doctor or a lawyer, um, they're leery. It's like,
Yeah, they treat it like you're flipping burgers. They look
yeah,
at musicians and creatives like we're fucking flipping burgers. It's like music and creativity fuels the world. If you're living off of this, but
yeah,
you treat it like it's nothing. You're looking at me like I'm throwing my life away. At an early
yeah.
age, that's what they believe. And it's just like, bro, I'm not listening to them.
That's something I've had to grow into it and knowing like
Mm-hmm.
I'm secure in myself and I'm secure in my gift because I know how much time I put into. Like it would be different if I was delusional and mediocre, and but like I put in the hours, so I'm okay with saying I'm a creative and I'm gonna be cool and I'm gonna figure out a way because y'all my family instilled that into me. So
Yeah.
no matter how that comes out, to get to that point, what does the resume look like? Like how did you was it just like the people that you met in order to sing background for all of these people, or and also if you want to give us like a list of people you same background for, you can do that as well. But yeah, I'm interested in like the resume because I don't know how that looks or how that works.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be just honest with everything.
Yeah,
So like I said, I knew I wanted to do music uh, as a career early on. And after I graduated high school, the plans were to go to Berkeley, and I got accepted. I had a little scholarship, and I ended up not going because of a number of reasons. But
yeah,
I felt super defeated, and I was like, okay, what can I do? And at the time, like Instagram had just came out, not just, but like it was really popular. So I was like, bro, fuck it. I'm gonna just sing. I'm gonna sing on my little phone. And if this is all that I could do, then that's what I'm gonna do. And you know me, I'm a little shy. And I won't like in the public setting, I'm probably gonna be who's the most silent person in the room.
yeah,
But I felt like Instagram bridged the gap between me and a bunch of other creatives. So I started singing and it put me in contact with people, and I formed these relationships. And over time, I had eyes and ears on me, thankfully. Um, and people kept me in mind. And so I was able to collab with people. I got a bunch of work opportunities. And my first background gig was I think it was Harry Connick Jr. He was doing a show. He had a daytime show, and I started doing background for there. And I think with this industry, if you don't show that you could do something, they're not looking for people unless like you put yourself out there or you have the opportunity already and they show that you're
yeah,
credible.
yeah,
That's just my opinion. So once I did that, the doors kind of opened up. Uh, and I think it's like I said before, I think it's very few times where it's about the gift. People want to know that they can work with you. People want to know that you can do the job and that you're not going to fumble the bag, you know?
yeah,
So, yeah, so I did that. And then I really enjoyed television. So that's where a lot of my BGV gigs were placed. But at the same time, I was struggling with like, okay, what about you? What about what you want to do? And what about your music? What about, because although I love all forms of music and everything, it was a challenge. And I write, I vocal produce, I produce. So I needed to, take a second and kind of explore that. And the pandemic was a horrible thing for so many people, and it was sad. And I saw New York just break down and close up, and it was really hard for me, for my family, for everybody. But it
yeah,
was also such a blessing because at the time, like right before the pandemic, I was heavy in the doing background. I was doing a lot of client work because I do vocal instruction, I do performance prep, and I write and vocal produce other artists.
yeah,
And I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. This is a passion, but I want to finish this project. I want to do something for myself. And I just remember praying. And then the whole world shut down. And so there was no like in-person contact. And so it forced me to get it done. And I mean, I didn't want the whole world to like fall apart, but it was a blessing. And so I was able to do that. So yes, like collabing with other creatives has been amazing. And I'm also enjoying it now again. But it put me in a position to, you know, do my own thing. And yeah, I don't know if that answered your question. I don't know.
No, no, that
I
definitely did.
think
'Cause, like the way I came across you was Instagram, and I
yeah.
was in high school, maybe.
Oh
Like,
wow.
yeah, like I was seeing Gabe Kunda's stuff.
Cool.
I was seeing your stuff, and I was like, oh my gosh, like these people are so dope. Um, and I was, especially in the musician community, like everybody was playing to your covers that you were doing.
Mm.
And now knowing you now that like you're, I'll say, transitioning to being an outward artist and saying that I do more than just covers.
Mhm.
Um, what has that transition been like? It's like, uh, especially like the early days of Instagram, the content that you put out, people kind of got used to it
Mhm.
and being like, oh, she's an artist now, but I was looking for the covers and all that stuff. So
Mhm. Mhm.
I know we've had conversations about it, but what is that transition like to being like, now I'm an artist and I can do more than just sing other people's music. I write my own.
So I, at the end of the day, I love singing and I love covers. I love that. But it was something that I was doing to help put gas in a machine, you know.
Mhm.
So it was, yes, I was doing that, but it was on the downtime of me, you know, working on music, working on projects, working with clients, doing all these other things.
Yeah.
And it's nobody's fault but my own because I never showcased myself as anything other than an Instagram singer. You
Yeah.
know, so when people are like, when I'm showing people work or I'm working with other people, like, oh my God, I didn't know you do that. I didn't know you engineer. I don't know you did this. I don't know. And it's just like, yeah. So it's been a tough transition, understandably. Um, but I mean, I also I feel like I've been so blessed with Instagram, so I try not to get so upset about it because it really did do amazing things for me. So like even now, like I'm like, okay, fuck it, I'll sing on Instagram. Um, but I just hope that y'all keep that energy when the project drops. Feel me? Like y'all want to hear me sing? All right, bet. I got some music for you guys. So
Yeah.
um yeah, it's been hard. I mean, you know, there's been pushback because, you know, we've had conversations and you've helped me with a lot of things. And I understand the importance of social media. I get it. I
Yeah.
just wish that this was all happening when I was like in my prime of doing this, because I feel
Yeah.
like that would have been better because now it's like, bro, I want to sing my own songs. I want to, you know, so it's
I
I'm
can say
rolling with the punches.
like with you talking with you and like, um I in terms of like everybody knows that I'm big on content. Just
Yeah.
like you changed my perspective on how I look at content because I was
Mm,
very one dimensional. It's like
mm,
you post every day something different or showing all, but like I think you showed me that I can post every once in a while. Like I don't have to post every day. I don't have to post every week. And I can still build a community of people that still rock with me. And I think that's
mhm,
the dope thing that I appreciate you for changing my perspective. We haven't spoken about this before, but
mm.
I was thinking about it before we got on the call. But yeah, because everybody knows I'm very strict about that. But thing I do like, and I think that's why we mesh so well, is your consistency for it. Like even if I'm not going to put out, whatever singing or a project or whatever like that, I'm going to practice until it is ready.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. I see like the old videos that you do, even the covers that you do now is like putting the reps in for I'm preparing y'all for the stuff that I've been working on.
Absolutely. And that I think even that was a hard transition because I love vocal acrobats. I love all these amazing cool things that you can do with your vocals. And so that's what I started off doing, like just a lot of riffs and runs and people love that and I love it, you know. but I am a huge fan of phrasing. I'm a huge fan of placement. I'm a huge fan of like emotive singing. So I've had to do a slow transition, and I've lost a lot of people, but I've also gained people who appreciate the simplicity as well. So instead of doing all these vocal acrobats that you guys know I can do, I want to start incorporating, you know, my musicianship and my arrangements and this and it being about tone and phrasing, and I want you to feel something, you know. So even that alone was a challenge because
So
people are like, oh, I want to play your videos. People, I even got a message recently were like, I'm really looking forward to your acapella videos because I love to play behind you. I don't want you to play the piano with your video. So it's a
s-
balance,
I,
balancing act.
no. That makes a lot of sense. If we go back, like, um, I think I've only been in one studio session with you where I've sat in and like you're a different, like Livv now is different than Livv in the studio. And
Absolutely.
so talk about, like the tone and phrasing, and if you could hit on that a little bit, and how, because yeah, I'm not a singer, but I look at singing just one dimensionally.
Mhm.
So how do you do that in the studio? How do you know? I don't know. I don't even know how to phrase that question, but I don't know if
Yeah.
any of that makes sense.
So I talk about this often where live and recording are two different animals. So you have to go about them differently.
Mhm.
And there are ways. So when you're in the presence of a vocalist or a musician or anything, you are going to go based off the energy that's there, and it'll be a beautiful experience. And then you might listen back to it and be like, "Ooh, that was a little sour. That was a little interesting," you know. But none of those things matter when you're living in the moment. You know, I don't care about the flaws. I don't care about whatever. But with recording, playback is important. So um, I feel very blessed. Well, it's a double-edged sword. My ears are so ridiculously sensitive. I think anyone who's ever been around with me, just in general in life, you know, probably complain because I hear everything. Um, and it's really interesting to maneuver through that. But it's been a blessing in the studio. So um, I work in detail. I work line by line. I work word by word. And there is a way to manipulate, you know, vowels to help with, you know, encapsulating a feeling or a moment. And so to some, I use the word often, but to some, I may look absolutely erratic, but there is a process. And at the end, there's beauty. It's like I have to make a mess before I make something perfect. I have to see all my options. I have to see what things sound like. I have to see whatever. But it's like I'm going into a really high competitive game every time I walk into a work environment. And I'm not leaving until it's absolutely perfect and perfect in my eyes. You know, like I've gotten pushback for that idea of me wanting to make something perfect and how I do make it perfect. But the reality is perfection is different to everybody. And I just know my ability. I know what I'm capable of doing, and I'm never gonna half-ass something. So I think I'm a ball on a regular day, but when it comes down to work, I'm not playing no games, and I do not care. Like people, like Josiah, you know Josiah, he's like, girl, like you are all work, no play, and it's like, bro, I'm playing all day until it's time to work, and now I don't got no more games for you. Let's
Yeah.
get this done. You know, um, yeah. So it's interesting. I think it's my superpower.
I feel like I wouldn't say we're radical in our opinions about being a creator. I feel like,
No,
okay,
we
we
are.
are,
We are absolutely.
but just like, don't be perfect. Don't be, y- don't be, try to be a perfection. I feel like perfection in terms of the way people look at it from the outside is like a mad scientist. How mad
Hmm.
scientists are erratic, how nobody understands them. But I think perfectionism is a superpower because I believe it shows the amount of hours that you put in, and
Hmm.
it's me just displaying all the knowledge that I know and putting it together and packaging it up.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
um, but I also feel this is gonna be like very right, very like mean, but I feel like people who don't practice enough
Hmm.
when they're in the presence of a perfectionist or perfectionism, they get intimidated because you see, I'm willing to make things perfect, and perfect
Mm-hmm.
means we're gonna get it right. It's not gonna
Mm-hmm.
be mediocre.
Mm-hmm.
But you get intimidated by that because you don't
Mm-hmm.
practice. So that's just my like mean opinion.
Yeah.
But
No, I hear that. So I'm working with talent every day, different levels of talent, different levels of
yeah,
commitment, different levels of experience. And what I've come to realize that it's just ignorance, and ignorance not being a bad thing, but ignorance literally just means lack of knowledge.
yeah,
So you don't know what you don't know until you know it, you
yeah,
know? So like I get a lot of questions like, oh my God, like, cause I do a lot of mixing sessions and stuff. And like I said, I hear everything. And people are like, how did and it's just like, there's a level of training that goes into it. But those seeds are planted when you're able to experience it. So at first we may look crazy. Like I said before, we're gonna look crazy and they'll be like, oh my God, like this is like high stake. Oh, but it's just like eventually you start to treat it like that. And you had a conversation with Samote recently where you guys spoke about how treat it like your children. Man, I'm not playing by my kids. I'm not playing by my kids. You feel me?
facts.
So, but
Yeah,
yeah, I think and I do think that there's certain things that are just not for everybody. Like there's some singers, I work with singers who are just singers. And when it comes down for me to comp their vocals or to do this, like they put some headphones on or they start scrolling their phone and baby, yes, do that because like this may not be what you're interested in. You know what I
yeah,
mean? But when we're arranging, you're like you have a bunch of opinions, you have this, you have that. But I think it's not for everybody. um Sometimes people just don't know and you plant these seeds, so
yeah.
we help these people to grow, hopefully. um but yeah, absolutely looking erratic, absolutely looking crazy, absolutely radical. um but i I don't know. I think any creative in any industry, whether visual, audio, whatever it is, when you really have a passion and you have a gift, you feel so responsible for it. I lose a lot of sleep and I just want to do my gift justice. Like I go a little crazy when I know that I could have done something or I know I could have done something better.
Yeah.
And I don't want to lose sleep because I'm like, fuck, I should have done that. Oh, I could have done this. Oh, I hear this now and we already did. Oh, there's nothing I can do at that point. And so to prevent any of those things, I'm on like hyper alert. Um, but yeah, it's tricky.
I think it's definitely a tricky way to maneuver, especially being like a very passionate but also disciplined creative, a disciplined
Mm-hmm.
person in general. Who do
Mm-hmm.
you study? How do you study? I feel like we both share the sentiment with craft you have to study.
Yeah.
Um, it is not just, let me wing it type stuff. We don't do that.
No.
So
Yeah. No. Um, I was taught a lesson early on to always be a student. I can learn from anything and anyone. Um, I don't know everything.
yeah,
So early on in my vocal career, I was just obsessed with musicians and instrumentation. Um, and my favorite instrument is the bass. So I used to study. I used to study Sheree Reed. Okay,
really? Oh, dude,
absolutely.
Sheree Reed is a
That
dude.
no, listen. I don't tell people that often because they're like, "What are you talking about?" You're saying, "Can you just?" I listen. His phrasing and his placement, and it was just so beautiful to me. And I always wanted to sound like an instrument, so I went from Sheree Reed to studying like violinists and their sweetness and their grace. And then I started to look at ballerinas. I started to look at dancers, and I was like, oh my God, the grace and the emotion. And I kept on falling into these rabbit holes. And my father's music collection was very extensive all across the board. And I had all these seeds that were planted at an early age that I was able to incorporate as well. But it was very rare that I like studied vocalists. It was always musicians, and records as a whole and how they were kind of
Yeah,
built out. But it's a constant thing. I mean, I go on these insane binges where I'll find an artist and I will just like fall into a rabbit hole And for like 2 weeks, my whole life is about that artist. My whole
Yeah.
life is about, their career or their mindset, how they look, their entire catalog. And I'm just dissecting everything. And okay, how is this mixed? And how is this? And how, oh my God. And it's just like, I go a little crazy. And so I do that often. And it never stops. It's and also I read a lot, so I'm able to, like, when it comes to writing, like, constantly finding other words to explain, what it is that I'm feeling, and put a name to the experience. Um, but it's every day it's something. You can learn something if you allow yourself to be open. And that's what I was saying earlier about being like vulnerable as a creative. I am open all the time.
Yeah.
Um, it's a beautiful thing, and it's a hard thing, but yeah.
And I think that ties around to what I want to talk about the most is your project. So I feel like it encompasses her upcoming project. That is, that's yeah, it just encompasses all the stuff that you've been learning and working with other people on and developing. And it's like you've been putting the reps in. Now it's time to like kind of show your feathers. I don't know if that's like an actual phrase or not, but yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, talk to me about that, the process,
Whew.
the experience. Yeah.
Okay, so this project has, oh my God. So, I mean, in the process of making this project, we've made a ton of other projects. Like, I'm ready to just, once this goes, we're just ready to drop.
Yeah.
But I've been very blessed to have, uh, you know, collaborative like partner on this project, Josiah Bassi, where it's just him and I. And we're able to every now and then bring in a musician or a producer to kind of help along.
Yeah.
But we're building from the ground up, like everything that is on this project, we haven't used a sample, we haven't used a track that was built before it was written. Everything is tailored, everything is completely built out and arranged um, from that one little idea. And I've been a little, I don't know if nervous is the word, but the project isn't my Instagram videos. It's not what, you know, people would expect from me. But like I said before, I cannot blame anybody for not knowing me if I haven't shown them who I am.
Yeah.
And so it, I think, is a beautiful body of work. Um, we haven't cut corners on anything, production, writing, um, mixing. Like, we are giving it 100% of us. And I am really proud. I am really excited. I don't even know. I don't even know what to say. Like, it's been a long time coming, and I just want to share the music. I just want to, connect with people over these conversations, especially as a woman specifically. All of this being a woman who is doing this and, producing and mixing and writing and arranging and all these things that are not normally done, or not showcased enough, because I know that there are amazing women creatives behind the scenes. But I'm ready to talk about it. I'm ready to put this out there. I'm ready to sing. I'm ready to perform these songs for you. And I've done a few performances recently where I've performed these songs and I've gotten embraced. And I know that, like, I hope it's not the beginner's luck,
Yeah.
but yeah, I feel blessed. I feel good. I know you've been able to hear some of the music, and I know,
Yeah.
like, listen, it's not Instagram. It's not what we've
It's
done
genius. I'm not
recently.
even gonna lie. Like,
So thank
um,
you.
you being a woman in this industry, and I know we
Mm,
talked about it a little bit, but
mhm.
um, how has that been? Like,
Well,
going into the studio session was mainly male dominated. Like, you
yeah.
walk in, the engineer is probably a white dude or a dude in general.
Hmm.
Um, how's that experience been?
It's been uh it's been tough. It's expected. I think any woman, who's in my position is going to feel the frustration, but it's like, bro, I don't even blame you, because y'all are just ignorant. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But I always make sure to do my absolute best, especially because I'm a girl. That's what I'm saying. I'm not playing. I'm not playing. So I come in as my artist advocate because I do my own sessions and with my own engineer. I'm not dealing with that kind of stuff when it comes to me. So all the times that I have come into those spaces, it's been for another artist. So I've been hired to either write or vocal produce or whatever level of, building this record out. And I always have to have these conversations with them. Listen, you are hiring me to do a job, and the best way for me to do my job is to let it be known that I'm here to do this specific job. And I'm here as your advocate to speak on your behalf because you don't understand how to communicate what it is that you are trying to, convey,
Yeah.
just because of knowledge. You know what I mean? That this is not what you do. You're creative, and that's, But yeah, it's a little bit of a pushback, and so I go in there, and you see me, and it's like, oh, okay, girl, like, so it's tough. But then once the ball starts getting rolling, of course, it speaks for itself. And at the end of it, they're like, oh my God, I didn't know. Oh yeah. I mean, I felt like maybe, or like there have been times where we're working, whatever, and they're like, I'm so sorry. Well, not like I'm so sorry, like something's happening, but we're just moving so beautifully that they're like, girl, like I'm excited. I love this. Would you rather sit down and maybe do this? Whatever. I'd love to watch you do it. And I'm like, oh my God, no, I'm not doing it. I don't feel that comfortable. But it starts off like, I'm not listening to this girl, to how long have you been doing this for? Like, oh, like, how, are you working with this? How much do you charge? How much? And like eventually wanting to know more about it. And so I just let these things kind of happen because, bro, it is what it is. And this is
Yeah.
what the whole industry has been built on. So I'm just here to, help change the norm and change the dynamic that women can hold it down for themselves. But I also have to go in there super assertive. So I'm playful, I'm sweet, I'm kind, I'm all these things. But when I go in there, I'm not playing. All right, we're doing this job. We have 5 hours, bet. Let's do this.
Yeah. And it's like I think it's dope. I call it the zone when people are in the zone, because like I know with
Mm-hmm.
my content or my base videos, or if I'm working on a video, like I'm in the zone. It's like
Mm-hmm.
I'm nice, Abram, but like the moment that stuff is set up, like don't come at me no weird type of way, or don't talk about anything outside of that, because like I don't want to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
when I've seen you, um, it was like I want this. I want this. I know what this is supposed to sound like. And you're not afraid to start all over and do it all over again. It's like, even if it
Mm-hmm.
was, the first part was good, but the second part was, you'd be like, I can do it better. Let's do it again. And that's
Mm-hmm.
the part that I admire.
Mm-hmm.
And I think transitioning back into your project, like you can hear the perfection that we talked about earlier in that project. I think it's hitting more on the project because I'm like excited for people to like listen to that. If you can give them maybe 3 words of what this project is about, or maybe probably not 3 words, it's probably like limited, but if you can give
I
like,
can, yeah, I can give a some.
okay,
Before you do that, even because you were talking about like the quickness and assertiveness and all these things, it's
yeah,
also very tricky because I want to mention this. It's different when you're a woman because I have to be assertive and make sure that I'm still kind. Because if I'm not, then all of a sudden,
mm-hmm.
what's the word? What's a nice word? I'm bossy. I'll just say that. So I'm very, very careful with that to make sure that because I know what it feels like to be uncomfortable in a workspace. I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable or like they're not good enough to be in that workspace because we all got the call to be here. So that means that we're all, you know, good enough to be in this room right now. So healthy
Yeah,
work environments are so important for me, and I do not play about that. But to the project, um, this project, so often women are depicted as these hopeless romantics, and for me that was never that wasn't my story.
yeah,
And I've always felt like I've been a bit self-sacrificing to help a partner feel all these things, based off of their love languages and stuff like that. And I've struggled with my own issues in relationships, and this project talks about how, ooh, this was your experience, but that was not what I felt. That was not it. Or like, okay, I care so much about you and this is what you need. So I'll just do it and I'll be that for you. or even like I just said about being kind. There are some songs where I'm honestly I'm talking a little shit, but I do it in such a kind way that it's like, oh, she was so polite about that. She didn't have to be, but she was polite, you know? And yes, it's about just coming into myself and this battle between heart and mind, and picking my battles, and also trying to love someone, the way that they might need that. So if it's complete, like if you are words of affirmation, well, baby, you deserve the spotlight. You deserve this, you know?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's definitely for the girls. Definitely for the girls.
Lord Jesus. Okay. It's definitely for a
No, but
girl.
but girls in a sense, like we're emotional beings, whether people want to accept that or not, like our wiring is very different. And I think, there's a healthy balance that they can be carried. And I feel very blessed to have both feminine and masculine energy.
Mm.
Um, but femininity and this and being in touch with my emotions definitely plays a role in all this, and being a creative, any sensitive being I feel will be able to connect to the project. So maybe not for the girls, maybe for the people who are feeling things.
After this project drops,
Hmm.
what is the rest of 2022 looking like for you and your creative endeavors? What's that looking like?
So I felt a lot of pressure because there's so many other things that I do outside of this.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt like, okay, handle business first, start the project, and then we can have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I've been working on some cool things. First of all, I'm excited to perform these projects, and I know the world is shutting down again.
Yeah.
So um, doing that, some placement stuff uh, that has been really amazing and fun. And I'm also working on a podcast right now.
Okay.
So hopefully that's out within the year. But
Okay.
yeah, there's so many fun, cool things. And when I envision my career, like I said, like I would love to speak on the behalf of people who are afraid to speak up for themselves, especially women. Like
Mm-hmm.
I want to be the advocate for people like me. There are not many. I don't see people like me very often, and I know that they're out there. They're just not being highlighted. And I know I've searched around like, oh, how do I fit into this industry when I'm the only, and when I stick out like a sore thumb. Um, so
Mm-hmm.
I hope that that is within the year. I hope that I'm able to, be in these conversations. I'm hoping that this project opens doors for that. And I'm excited for the podcast to, if no doors open, I'm busting one down.
Yeah.
And so hopefully people are with me on that. But yeah.
Dang. Well, I appreciate you, Liv. We definitely had a loaded conversation with like Liv is someone again is someone I respect and admire. So yeah, this appreciate you for doing the Black Pantheon, for this episode too. So episode 3, I think. I don't know what episode it is, but
I love it here.
yeah. But yeah, appreciate you.